Okay, here's another demonstration of using Photopea to manipulate some photographs. So let's click on New Project and Print Size. If you've got a pretty good computer, try A3, otherwise use A4. Create. Let's go File, Open and Place. And let's try placing, let's try this photograph right here. Press Open. Use your own photography preferably, and hold down Shift, grab the corner, Shift, grab the corner. Actually, this would make a better horizontal image, so let's forget about that. Let's press Ctrl Z to delete him. Let's go up to Image, Rotate, Transform, Rotate 90 degrees. Okay, here we go. Now we can say File, Open and Place, get our guy up there, hold on Shift, grab a corner, get it to fill the A4 page, I think. And then I think I'm going to move it over here to get what's in front of him rather than what's behind him into the scene. And when you're happy with it, well, just to remind you, you can also rotate the image to do something like that. So let's do that actually. Let's grab the corner, let's make it so it fills the page. I think we can fill the back up there with black. So let's double click, and let's go to the background layer, and let's get black in the foreground by pressing that button there. And I think it's Alt Backspace. Let's just try that. Yes, Alt Backspace filled it with black. Now we can go back to our image layer. Now let's try seeing if we can do something a bit unusual with the selection. Maybe we can cut and paste and do some interesting artwork with it. So let's grab the Ellipse Tool. Let's grab an ellipse. Move it around to the face. Move it right there. Try and get the right size, a better size. Okay, do something like that. Okay, I rotated the shape of the ellipse to match up with this, his face, and just to do that I went up to where it says Select, I went to Transform Selection, and I can just transform the selection just like I can transform images. So let's just double click, get that shape there, and now I'm actually going to press Ctrl X. It says Smart Object must be rasterized first. Now if you look at the icon over here on the layer palette, you can see a little rectangle or square in the bottom right corner. That means it's a smart object. I need to rasterize it first, so I right click it, click Rasterize. Now I can press Ctrl X. Beautiful. And it actually cut that out of the image to reveal the black layer below. Now I'm going to press Ctrl V, and it says, do you want to allow this? I'm going to say yes, allow this. And it looks like it pasted it perfectly, but what I want to do is I want to move it slightly to the left. So I go to the top left tool there, it's called Move, and I'm going to grab it, make sure I'm on that layer, which it's automatically selected. I'm just going to move it slightly to the left, like so. And double click it. Actually, I don't need to double click it, but what I do want to do is bring it below the head layer. Now, if you can see, it's moving it inside the head. So I'm going to do something really funny, and I think I'm going to go to the top layer there and hopefully add a filter to it. So I'm going to right click it and say Layer Style. No, it's not going to let me do that. Let's try double clicking it. Yes, double clicking it opens up this box. And I'm going to add a drop shadow right here, this one. Boom. And let's see what happens if I increase the opacity. Is it working? Distance. The angle is such that we can't see the drop shadow. I don't know if you can see this 30, but also you see this little line. Let's move this to the upper left corner instead. What about there? Okay, now you see this shadow. We want to increase its, decrease its opacity a little bit. Maybe something about there. And we want to make it softer by increasing the size of the feather. The feather is the soft edge. There we go. So increase the size of that so it's soft. Maybe we can increase the opacity a little bit. And I think we want to move the angle even further to the left. So this angle button, I'm going to move this around about there. That's better. Press OK. Now we can still move the face, this layer, by bringing that layer and getting the move tool. I can also use my arrows, I believe, to nudge it up and down a little bit. Okay. I could do something weird, like maybe shrink it a little bit. I don't know if that would look good or not, so let's just try it. Edit, free transform, and hold down Shift and grab the top left corner and bring it down just a little bit. I think that works. So let's bring it a little bit bigger. Okay. Right about there. Double click. Okay. Let's make the background around his face a little bit more weird. Okay, so maybe painting a bit of a dark red color or something, or dark gray. So to do that, we'll get the Paintbrush tool, which is this one here, and we'll choose some gray by clicking on the black button there, choosing some gray. Press OK. Change the brush to a soft brush, generally a large size. Larger, I believe, would be better. There we go. And now we go to the background layer and paint that gray. It says locked, so I wonder if it's not letting me paint on that. Oh yes it is. Maybe it's that drop shadow making it. So let's try painting with white. See what happens. This is the problem. Opacity. We need to boost that all the way up to 100%. This is the paintbrush opacity now. Okay, and let's make the brush larger. I'm going to actually use the shortcut for brush size, which is the square bracket. Just do this. There we go. Now I don't want it to be white, do I? Let's make it slightly gray. Something like that. Press OK. Or if you had another texture of something, you could import that as another layer underneath the two face layers. And I think I want to change the colors, do something more unusual than just plain normal tones. So let's change the color of this one first, and let's say image, adjustments, let's try hue saturation, colorize, change the hue. I think I want to go blue, something like that. You can also adjust how vibrant the blue. If you want something a bit more subtle, which sometimes works better, you can just take this all the way to the left, would be 0. That would be gray, black and white I mean, but a little bit of saturation. There we go, that's better. Just a little bit of blue. And lightness, if you brought that down to the left, it would actually make the entire image a little bit darker, so there are no highlights. And that's a good way, if you wanted to make the face stand out more. If you just bring that slightly to the left a little bit, it makes the skin on the background not as bright as the skin on the face. Now let's get the face here and do a similar thing, but maybe with a slightly different color. Just see what happens. So make that layer active. Press Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, Colorize, and bring the hue to where the blue was, and then see if we can adjust it slightly. Not so keen on that. I think I am going to leave it similar to the other one. Press OK. And this is an interesting experiment. I can always go back to the position of the face if I wanted to adjust it. So there's the face. I can always move it over slightly. You can see that's where I didn't paint the gray. I could rotate it. I could copy it and have another one. So for example, if I wanted to grab that face, drag it down to the button next to the bin, and that makes a copy of it, and then I can press Image, sorry, not Image, so Edit, Free Transform, and you can see that there's a copy of it. I can shrink it and have another one there and do all kinds of things, maybe rotate it. Maybe I want to have it sort of fade. So to do that, I might just grab the eraser. Where's the eraser? E? Is that the eraser? Yeah, E for eraser. Maybe I can go up and get a soft edged brush. This one here. Hardness is all the way to the left. Increase the size a little bit. Increase the size a lot. Grab some of this and get rid of it. So get rid of that. Get rid of the outlines so you don't see a hard edge. Like so. That's a weird effect. Okay. Maybe get rid of all of it and then just use your move tool. Maybe rotate it again, edit, free transform, rotate it back to what it was, put it right there, increase the size. Well, you get the idea. Okay, but I'm going to get rid of that layer. I don't really like it, so just drag it to the bin. Okay, I think we're going to do one more thing by import a different background just to slightly affect the background, because otherwise the background would have to be really good in your original photo. Well, what if your original photo's background isn't very good? Okay, so let's just show you how to do something. First, I'm going to save this. So save as PSD. Let's call it Demo 3. And now I'm going to say File, Open in Place. I've actually got a different floral background I'll try out. So this one, press Open, Shift, grab it this way, and I like it, but I really want these flowers here in the bottom right corner to be in the top right. So to do that, I simply go Edit, Transform, Flip Vertically. Okay, so now those flowers are in the top right. I'm going to bring that behind everything else. No, sorry, not behind everything else. I'm going to apply a blend mode to it, see what we can achieve. So where it says normal, I'm going to change that to multiply and see what it does. It's interesting, but it's a bit hard to see the face. I can always reduce the opacity of it, but it's good, And you could certainly save that as one version. It's nice, but let's try some other techniques. So multiply, let's try color burn. Still very similar. Linear burn, even darker. However, if I do the opacity now, what would that look like? It's not very clear. So let's try darker color. That's interesting. It definitely affects the lighter areas of the face more than the darker areas. Let's try lighten. Oh, here we go. Let's try the next one. Screen. Let's go lighten and reduce the opacity. See how that kind of brings that into the background in a nice way. That's not too bad. It's not good when it's full strength, but lighten doesn't really affect the foreground, the areas of the face that are already light, but it does affect the dark areas of the background nicely. I think we might come back to this, so let's remember, lighten 21%. Okay, so let's boost that back up to 100% and try the next one. Screen, it's similar. Color dodge, ooh, I like it on the background, but not so much on the face. So let's reduce the opacity. Not as good as lighten. Linear dodge, opacity, lighter color. It's kind of nice. Now we're going to go down to overlay. Soft light, hard light. Hard light's very difficult to see any of the face, so that's no good. Vivid light, now too strong. Linear light, too strong. And the effectiveness of any of these techniques really is dependent on your imagery. Some of these settings work better depending on what the image is. Let's go to difference, because I know we get some unusual effects when we do the difference. You might get a negative version. Subtract. Oh, that's interesting. Let's reduce the opacity. And finally, hue. Now how about that? That's pretty unusual. It's just taking the colors from the flowers and applying them to the image. Saturation. I think we're going to go back to lighten and reduce the opacity to 21. Maybe something a bit more like that. Here's a thought. What if you want it to be more strong and intense, like soft light? No, sorry, hard light. Boost up the intensity all the way. Maybe about 40%. But what if I were to bring the face above it? See what happens. Oh, okay. Let's try that with different strength. Unusual. Now, doing print screens of this entire process would be very useful, because that means you're experimenting and showing that you're developing your ideas, as we discussed in lesson. So developing your ideas, I did like the lighten now, so let's go back to that, and 21%. Okay, so now we're on this. Do I want to do anything else? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to save it as PSD. Demo 3 it was, so Demo 3, save. And when I want to upload it to my Wix website, I need to turn it into a JPEG. So to do that, I need to flatten all the layers. I could crop it if I wanted to, but let's just keep it as it is and flatten the layers. So to do that, you go to the layer palette at the top there, the menu layer, and you say Flatten Image. Okay. Now do not save it as a PSD anymore. All right, now we want to save it as a JPEG. But before I do that, I just want to intensify the color a little bit. So I go Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, boost up the saturation just a little bit, tiny amount, press OK, and Image, Adjustments, Levels. I'm going to increase this, decrease this just a little bit, press OK. There. Now I want to save it as a JPEG. Save. Where is it? No, it's not that one. File. Export as JPEG. And I think we'll just keep everything as it is except for this 70%. I'm going to boost that up to 100% so they get the best quality. Click on Save. And I'm going to call it Flowers Face. Save. And now I can upload that into my Wix website. Okay. Obviously, you can experiment with so many different shapes. You do not need to cut out an ellipse. If you wanted to cut out an unusual shape, for example, let's just show you really quickly. Open in place. Let's just get this guy again. Double click. If you want to cut out other shapes, you can hold down 1, 2, 3, the third one down. Choose Lasso Select, and you could draw an unusual shape. It's really hard to do if you're zoomed out all the way. So I'm going to hold down Control Space, drag to the left, drag to the right, and let's just try that again. This time we're zoomed in a little bit better. Okay, so I've got that as a selection. All right, so what would happen if I were to cut that? Ooh, it says rasterize it, so right click it, rasterize it, say cut. I'll tell you what I could do. Instead of saying cut, I could say Control C for copy. Now Control V for paste. And now you'll notice I can move it, but the original one's still there. Well, what happens if I say edit, free transform, do something like that now? Ooh, you can have so much fun with this, trying all kinds of weird things. Let's double click it. Let's flip it left to right. Edit, transform, flip horizontally. Grab the move tool again. Do that. Maybe I'm going to get the eraser. Maybe I don't need all this stuff here. Oops. Control Z is undo. Maybe I can reduce the size of the brush with the left square bracket. Do that. Okay. Alright, some really weird effects you can do. Do that and get rid of the eyebrows on the top. Okay. I am in the classroom at lunchtimes if you want to experiment with this and you want to do something specific and you don't know how to do it, just ask me. I will make more tutorials and upload them again later in the week as well. Alright, have fun.